understand the universe as we observe it. Now, the question is, what's really going on that allows that to take place without the proliferation of universes? That's why I think it's wrong. It's the intermediate, it's the immature analytical point at which we have noticed that something is going on. We know we need to explain it, and we haven't yet stood in the right place to explain it in a way that's actually efficient. So what we're doing is we're explaining it in a way that if you typed it out, it's one tweet.
But isn't existence itself insane? The universe itself is insane. The subatomic particles are insane, going all the way out to solar nurseries. It's all insane. The whole thing's insane. It's insane in scope. It's insane in size. It's insane in its complexity.
It's almost incomprehensible.
Almost incomprehensible. So why would it be more incomprehensible if there was infinite variety and infinite numbers of them? It would just be a different level of crazy that we weren't aware of.
Well, no.
No?
I mean, I don't think so, because it's not a different level. Let's just agree that the universe, the size of it, is impossible to actually comprehend. I think it's literally impossible.
We just look at it as a number. It's a small number, actually. You look at it, like what's the most recent, the James Webb Telescope, the most recent advanced versions of it, they're talking about 22 billion plus years for the Big Bang. They're looking at that now because of the structure of some galaxies that shouldn't exist in the time period of which they would have to be formed in a certain amount of years. And so it's very contentious, but there's some of these people studying the result that seem to believe it's quite possible that you might want to push that date back, whatever the Big Bang is.
Right. Okay.
And then there's Sir Roger Penrose, who thinks it's like a constant cycle.
Right. I'm open to all these ideas, except ones like the multiverse. Because let's put it this way: you haven't solved a problem by invoking the multiverse. What you've done is you've caused a problem that is like the original problem that you had raised to the infinity.
Right.
And so my feeling is anytime you've made the problem, the philosophical problem you had that we all admit is really, really difficult, infinitely worse, you probably made a wrong move.
I don't know about that. I don't think that's necessarily true. Because just because we haven't solved the problem of this immense thing that's impossible to grasp, it doesn't mean it can't be way bigger than we even imagine in a concept that's impossible to grasp. And there's got to be some reason why so many people are entertaining this multiverse theory.
Well, that's just because we're descendants of chimp-like ancestors, and we have limited tools to bring to bear to this sort of thing. Right, it's exciting. It's a good way to think of it. As if you think of it as a temporary stand-in for whatever the answer is that's going to dawn us at some point, it's fine. It's a good thought problem. But imagining that it's real, you said, maybe the problem is infinitely bigger than we thought. It's not infinitely bigger. It's the rate of growth of the problem. Every instant needs multiple universes for the most trivial of modifications. I'm sorry, that just does not sound like nature to me.
I think it sounds like the universe, though. I don't think the universe necessarily sounds like nature. Nature is what we see here, but what we see everywhere is so bizarre. Black holes are so bizarre. Supernovas, they're so fucking bizarre. The fact that there's a giant black hole in the center of every galaxy that's 1% of the mass of the galaxy, and there might be another universe inside of that thing.
But see, I actually think that one, I was waiting for that discovery for my whole life, and when I finally heard it, was like, okay, now I understand why you've got this huge swirling thing. You've got this giant gravitational mass in the center that you can't see. Now it makes sense. So that was like a simplifying discovery.
Well, the existence of the black hole, but the concept of a black hole being essentially a portal into another universe where there's hundreds of billions of galaxies, each one with a black hole in the center of them. You go through each one of those, you have hundreds of billions of galaxies, each one with a black hole in the center of it, and you just keep doing that forever and ever and ever. Isn't that kind of the multiverse?
Well, let's put it this way. We're a little bit safe here because by definition, there's no way of peering into those things.
Right. For now.
I think forever.
You think AI can't like get a grasp on this in a better way?
Well, it might be able to.
Quantum computing 1,000 years from now might have a.
The problem is that there's a physical reason you can't. For the same reason the light can't get out, there's no way to peer in.
Right.
So, am I cool with the idea that maybe there's an equilibrium, that, a black hole where things, once they're pulled in over that threshold, they never emerge again, and that maybe they emerge somewhere else? Yeah, I could imagine parallel things that are entangled in this way. That does not sound inherently like an insane cheat to me, because what we have is a mystery staring us in the face in every one of those ultramassive black holes. What the hell is it?
Right. What about a future in which we develop some sort of propulsion system attached to a drone it's not based on fuel, it's based on some sort of gravity thing, and allows you to traverse immense distances very quickly. And then we could actually get that fucker way out there and take some video and bring it back.
Well, you're going to avoid the warranty, I'm pretty sure.
Well, it's okay. It's all funded by the government.
All right.
Infinite money. We just print checks. That's what flying UFOs.
Yeah.
Which is what I think.
Use the UFOs.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think so, too.
Yeah, I think both things are true. I think we have been visited, and I think it only makes sense. I think there is life out there, because it doesn't make sense there isn't. And I think I would visit. If I got 1,000 years more advanced than we are, and we found out about some planet that's 2,000 light years away that actually is making nuclear bombs, yeah, visit. 100%. So, of course they would visit, and of course they would want to protect us from the overwhelming shock to our culture that would undoubtedly be thrust upon us if we were confronted with a city-sized spaceship that's hovering over Detroit, just hovering over there. It would send the world into a massive panic. No one would know what to do.
I'm not sure about this. So I want to just adjust a couple things you said.
Okay, please.
So my perspective, you're absolutely right. It would be, there's every reason to think there's lots of life in the universe.
Right.
And that life that attains a certain level of cognition will inevitably create technologies that break boundaries that it can't biologically break. So it'll, traverse some distance across space. But the real question is...
Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll take some questions now. Yeah, thank you.
Closest. How traversable is the cosmos? Right? It may not be traversable at all at this stage, or it may be much more traversable than we know. And then it doesn't take very many islands of life to have somebody visit us. But as to your last point, actually, first, everybody, every thinking person I know is pretty troubled by the present.
Thank you very much for attending. We apologise if you were unable to get your question in.
Hostile alien force would freak everybody out. But I can't see a reason why aliens would be hostile. It doesn't make sense to me.
They don't have to be hostile. Just
A
being
game
there.
that speaks for
But then,
itself in
like,
so many ways.
crazy.
A stadium bursting at the seams with excitement, and two terrific teams ready to give it everything in their quest for glory. The kind of match that's impossible to take your eyes off, even for a brief second.
Because we've seen really impressive stuff on screens.
Good evening. They might have done quite a bit of
heard
refurbishment
stuff
work on
that's
this
going
stadium in recent
Showed
seasons,
up in the
but it
sky
still
and
has a refreshingly
see it with
old-fashioned
binoculars.
quality about it. We're at Anfield.
Question
My
is,
name is Derek Ray, and sitting alongside me in the commentary position is the former Arsenal and West Ham midfield player Stuart Robson. And we've got action for you from the Champions League quarter-final. It is Liverpool facing Manchester City.
Well, I've been looking forward to this one ever since they were drawn together. They're two excellent teams with a host of top quality players. This should be a really interesting first leg.
Narrative that this is we're in the lead in terms of background.
In with a chance. Oh, marvellous save. Great goalkeeping. And holding on to it at the second time of asking.
So they would lose
And this is how Liverpool start the game. Alisson begins in goal. Trent Alexander-Arnold plays with Andrew Robertson in the wide defensive areas. And in this tactical setup, they have just the one player in attack.
I think if they are real and they do observe
And a look at the starting 11 for Manchester City. Ederson begins in goal. Kevin De Bruyne plays alongside Rodri in the centre of midfield. And handed the task of playing up front is Erling Haaland.
To the idea that they're not alone. I would do it slow. That way you could have
Well, you never quite know who's going to dominate a game in advance, but I think you can maybe make an argument for this fellow, Stuart. What do you think we'll see from him today?
Well, Derek, we know he can score goals in many different ways, but I think he's at his most dangerous when he's running with the ball and hitting his shots with power. It's almost unstoppable for the goalkeeper. That's what makes him a great finisher.
When I was a kid, you talk about UFOs, you were 100%.
Grealish.
Straight up kook. And then the Bob Lazar story
On to
came out,
Haaland.
and everybody was like, hey, wait a minute.
Back with
Is that
Silva.
really true? And that was like 80 pounds. It still seemed like it should. And then there's a bunch of
Had
Russians.
no interest in losing
Education
possession.
background.
Can they keep it out?
Then over time, more people have seen enough things like
Alexander-Arnold. You can't really tackle like that and expect to get away with it. Bookings to come, you would think.
Hearing stories
And he does produce the yellow card.
Yeah, and it certainly deserved the yellow. It's a poor challenge, you have to say.
More and more people talking about it. More and more professors.
Great
Stanford,
opportunity. And saved by the keeper.
It's a story perspective. Air Force pilots are coming out and talking about it. It's a different world. And it's
Sergio
happened
Gomez.
over a few decades.
yeah, it's a different world, but I still haven't seen anything that is best explained as psyop bullshit.
Might really be able
I
to
haven't
trouble
either,
them here.
But also, I haven't seen it. Right?
And what's he got to do, Sergio
These are unique
Gomez?
experiences.
And a
the
goal
problem with
kick
unique
given.
experiences is everyone has to just sort of trust you. Unless you have some kind of evidence, everyone has to trust you. Even if it's a whole town. It's a unique
Salah.
experience in the town. Massive knows this. A bunch of bullshit artists. They're taking advantage of it for tourism.
Salah.
Like Virginia, Brazil. The entire town. So
Will it lead to the goal that puts them ahead? And a goal! Now they've broken through. 1-0
I think
here.
there's bullshit mixed in with some good stuff. That's my conclusion of the talk.
Well, back
Because we go
underway,
back to, like, the
and
Kenneth Arnold
1-0 it
sightings
is.
in the 1950s.
Let's see what happens
They didn't have
next.
No,
It is advantage
there's
Manchester
no way
City here.
anybody had anything in the
Manuel
1950s
Akanji.
that could.
And with that, the first half draws to a close.
Make no noise.
You certainly have got to
skip
give this
like
man
public
high marks.
saucers is the way they described it. There was I think there was 9 of them together. There was we didn't have any. So maybe occasionally.
So back in business, the second half underway. It's Liverpool in front, but far from being done and dusted.
It's their part of this world. They hide from
Well, they
us.
have it again.
Yeah, I mean, my stock and trade.
Ruben Dias. Kevin De Bruyne. Well, just to point you in the right direction, we have more live action from the Premier League coming up here on EA TV. It's Liverpool facing Crystal Palace.
That should be a tasty encounter. Plenty of quality in those two sides. Certainly one to enjoy.
Because frankly, terrestrial motion is arrogant. If they
De Bruyne.
had some sort of a drone that used gravity,
Now a potentially
and could
dangerous
sit
position for
across the
City,
sky like,
but timely defending
10x
when it
light
mattered.
speed, they would,
Yeah, but I don't even think it's. I don't. Look, I think the fact.
What can he do with it now? And a long way out. Nicely saved.
It's beyond any terrestrial crowd that we know of, and they're silent.
Played over. Danger still on. Mo Salah. On to Alexander-Arnold. Now Mo Salah. And he stopped them in their tracks.
So you think the radar, when they
It'll
use
be a
radar,
Liverpool
they
ball.
find these things. What do you think that is?
Oh man, I think that's people putting blips on it.
Alexis
Radar is
McAllister.
not the only place in the street that shows
Very
up.
alert defending to cut
So you
off the
could
supply.
force a blip on someone's radar?
Sure. The radar, and heck, you have.
Bodies
How would you
forward
do
and
that?
the break looks on. Really annoying for them. Couldn't take advantage.
But let's talk about the David Fraser, right? Because this is 2004.
It's a good Liverpool move in the making.
Ability in terms of
It should be. And it's a double for him in this game. No way for the opposition to contain him. And
we
no
certainly
wonder
don't
he's...
have what we have 20 years later, right?
Yep.
We all agree to that. Now, they have multiple different mediums, multiple different types of evidence. They have visual eyewitness testimony, and more than one jet sees this thing, more than one pilot sees this thing. They all have the same story. This thing zips across the sky. They have the radar that shows that this thing went from 50,000 feet above sea level to 50 in a second. They have this thing moving at speeds on video. You see it
Celebrating.
turn anybody inside.
Well, here it is again, and the pace in which they break forward is devastating. It's so hard to defend against, and it makes the striker's job so easy. All he has to do is make the right connection. It's a lovely goal.
There. You have the radar, you have video, you have eyewitness testimony.
Kevin De Bruyne.
Flying to the cat point. They were initially supposed to.
Akanji has
they're
it.
doing their training mission. They're supposed to meet.
Sergio Gomez.
There's a lot of weird shit with that.
Grealish.
Yep. But
Do you
Now
think
we're
it's fake
inside
that?
the final 15 minutes.
yeah, I mean, I do think you can fake it. Because
Kevin De
you just
Bruyne.
have multiple attack
Now with
vectors.
Silva.
So,
And you've got
how would you fake a visual sighting
Rodri.
from trained fighter jet pilots
Silva.
over the ocean?
projection.
A projection.
Well, that's how to keep
And
the
where
opposition
would
at
the
bay.
projector be?
Be coming from space. It can be from an aircraft
Holland.
that's flying too high to see.
Can he get one back?
How would you do that?
Oh,
What
not to
technology
be.
would you
Stopping a
use to
certain
make
goal.
something? I mean, they even have
Oh, lovely ball.
disturbance of the
And he's
ocean.
in the clear.
The ocean surface.
And a goal to seal the hat-trick. A masterclass in finishing. Just can't stop him today.
Well, here's the replay. The pass over the top has just the right amount of pace on it. And then through on goal, he just goes for power and smashes it past the keeper. There's no stopping that. What a great finish.
Great. Seed limits, whatever. So I think the ability to.
Well, if there were any lingering doubts about the outcome, surely they now have been removed.
Given that those programs are essentially so accessible,
Holland.
do you think anybody's ever going to have
And the advantage is with City.
that actually, in this case, would be useful?
The referee has decided that 2 additional minutes are in order.
To have
Manuel Akanji.
reliable experience.
The final whistle then, and Liverpool will take a lead with them into the second leg of this tie.
So this
But
would
it just
explain
seems in this
why
game
these things
he's
are
been
able
a-
to stay stationary.
It was brilliant today.
And not wins because they're not affected by physical reality.
Yeah.
They're just images.
Have you?
Just a couple of questions for you.
There are
Yeah.
will do stuff in front of you that you don't walk out of there thinking will cause you physical harm because you understand the passion for it. Suspend your disbelief enough to look through your eyes and register something as if it's violating the law of physics. We all know it's not true, right?
You're David Blaine.
Right. Exactly. Delusion. Yeah. Now imagine that you had genius working on illusions. We're going to do so in a context that you would have no concept that that's what had happened. Because you're so used
Thanks
to
very much.
what your eyes perceive, what your ears hear, all of those things. So all I'm saying is the evidence that these things exist always hovers in the realm where a ruthless whatever could have faked it, right? Whether that has to do with an MK Ultra intervention where somebody's been given drugs they don't know they've been given, and they've been shown things that they are more open to because they were in a state in which they were in induced openness. That's a possibility. Or a mixture of things. You see something, you've been brought into a state of openness, you accept it more than you think you have because you don't know that anybody tinkered with your wiring. I just am waiting to see a piece of evidence that really makes me go, I don't think we could have done that.
Have you seen any of Gary Nolan's stuff on the metallurgy, on the different samples they've collected from these supposed down crafts that defy our understanding of how to create alloys and
So
how expensive it would be to craft these things?
let me ask you a question. You've got alloys that are beyond known human technology, and you've got discussion of alloys that are beyond human technology. Which is it?
Well, it's certainly discussions.
That's the problem.
Right. I mean, I don't know see if you can find anything on Gary Nolan's samples. So Diana Pasolko, who'd been on the podcast before, she'd done some excavating of these areas where they report that these things have crashed and they could still find pieces, which made me a little skeptical. Sometimes you can still find. You didn't pick them all up. Like,
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they send someone out there to pick everything up? Why would you?
would sift.
Yeah.
You would take truckloads and you would
100%.
sift.
You would get every single scrap of that stuff.
Yep.
But if I wanted someone to believe that a craft was there, I'd leave a bunch of bullshit out in the field. I'd blindfold them like they did. I'd take them out to this spot. This is the spot.
Right.
Look around. Oh, look, you found a piece. Like, how do you not know where all the fucking pieces are? If this thing crashed 30 years ago, why didn't you go over this place with a fine-tooth comb? People do that for arrowheads.
Yeah.
Why would you not do that for alien craft metal?
Of course you would.
Yeah, also, there's the other problem. It's like, why are these things crashing?
Right. Exactly.
They're so fucking good. They can get here from another dimension.
They're partying. They got here and they just they don't know
They get a hold of some fucking Jack Daniels. Next thing you know, they're crashing in the sand. They're having a good time in America. It's also, that's a big problem too. A lot of these sightings are in America. If you look at the chart, there's sightings overseas for sure. They happen all over the world,
Look,
undoubtedly, but they happen a lot more here.
We have an alien problem across many different dimensions.
Yeah, we do. We have multiple alien problems.
Yeah, we have multiple.
That's another thing they're gaslighting people on. The idea that they would let people come over here so they would vote. Of course they would. That's a great way to get voters. So these are these pieces that Gary Nolan claims to have had. And what does it say about these pieces?
Well, I can only find it in the video. I was trying to find pictures.
U.S. explosion. Okay, so this is from how do you say that? Ubatuba, Brazil. So this is a different. It might be a different pronunciation in Portuguese. But this is a different crash than the Varginha one. So there's been multiple sightings and things happen in Brazil, apparently. Brazil also has a little bit of an alien problem.
Oh yeah, little one.
But the Varginha one is wild. That's the most wild one.
Yeah, but those fragments there appeared from where I'm sitting to look like they were made of pixels.
Let me see that again. That could just be a low resolution photograph.
No, I'm kidding with you. I'm just saying we're looking at that thing as if we know that it's a fragment of metal and we're being told that it has properties that are unfamiliar. But what we have, the evidence you and I have, is pixels.
Right. Sure. We're not there. We don't get to see these things. Also, even if you gave it to me, how's that going to help me? I have no idea what you're. Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
I don't even if you gave me the microscopes to look at it, like, what am I seeing? Right. I'm seeing layers. Is that what this is?
Right.
How'd they do this?
Right. So that's why, look, I want a team of honest biologists to look at some space biology. That would settle this immediately.
Yeah, immediately.
Immediately.
Yeah. Like if there really is a body.
Just one.
Well, everyone says there's frozen bodies somewhere.
Just one. That's all that we can settle this tomorrow.
Let some people in. Okay, here it is. Alleged extraterrestrial metal from the bottom of a wedge-shaped craft in the late 1940s made of 26 alternating layers, 1 to 4 microns dark bismuth and 100 to 200 microns silver, magnesium, zinc alloy. Each of 6 pieces received from U.S. Army source formed with a curvature that tapered.
transmitted by pixels.
Right, so that's the problem.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Also, the late 1940s. How many of these fucking things crashed?
It's happening all.
That's a weird thing, right? Like, think of how many Corvettes there are.
Yeah.
You don't find a whole lot of crashed.
Yeah, it's not a common thing.
Nobody's finding Corvettes in the desert. Look,
Yeah.
I found a Corvette. There's so many Corvettes.
Right, and yet most of them make it from A to B.
But these fucking UFOs,
Oh man.
they're so smart. They come here from other planets. They just
Yeah.
boom.
Well, maybe we're not on their map, and so they're like,
Or maybe the only people.
Puppy, what's the way? What's he doing? He's been running around up here. What's going, puppy? Puppy? What's the way? Puppy? What are you making food then? What are you have to make more today? What's the top ready to make it? If you are. And what are you going to do? Oh, no. Okay. This is so happy. This is happy. I think you could definitely do a little bit of food. Food better than you do. So you do get some plain healthy ingredients. Food better than that. That's the proper test, isn't it? You know what I mean? Not doing that. Yeah, that's the proper test. You have to do 2 portions in that though. Yeah. True, yeah, fair enough. Yeah. It'd probably be the right amount then, wouldn't it, really?
That are the only intelligent life outside of this planet that's willing to do it. They're like Australian outback people. They're like those wild dudes who go overlanding. And Australia has a big overlanding culture where they build up these vehicles and they take them off into the bush and they live off of them. My friend Adam Greentree does that. These people are wild. Australians are wild folk. So maybe they're like the Australians of space. And they just
Overlanding and it doesn't always work out.
overlanding. They're these nuts that there's people that go out in the desert for 30 days and they have enough food and water and they have a solar thing on the top of their rig, and that's it charges their cell phone. And they have jerry cans of petrol so they can keep going.
Well, I kind of dig this. Look,
That's fun.
if it were possible to
Right.
traverse vast empty spaces and go to places that were known to have life, I'd be all about that.
But
So
it would
yeah,
only be the real hardcore adventurers that would take that chance. And maybe those people are nuts. Maybe those alien people are nuts, just like the human people are nuts that do that kind of stuff.
right. They like to get into trouble,
Yeah.
winch themselves out, and
Wild people.
yeah.
They got winches on their spaceships. Well, you got to also think. Here's another problem with the idea of them being biological. It's far more effective to send things that are non-biological into space, like what we're doing on Mars. We don't have a base on Mars allegedly, but there's a lot of nutty people that believe we do. But they do certainly have some robots that are on Mars that's gathering data. They're doing it right now, and so they don't have to worry about radiation, all the things that kill people, make people sad. If we lose one of those rovers, who gives a fuck? Make another rover, ship it out there, fly it. Nobody cares. If you lose 50 people, if you take 50 people and they die on your Mars trip, you're gonna have Congress is gonna be meeting about it. What are we doing? Why are we killing people? Let's not do that. And so as time goes on and as technology improves and as sentient artificial intelligence becomes a better option for sending some intelligent robot to gather data, why would anybody go through space as a living creature? It seems stupid.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. On the other hand, I probably, why do I want to go to the Amazon, right? I can see.
Yeah, but you can go to the Amazon. That's the thing. Humans live in the Amazon.
True.
Humans don't live on Mars. It's way simpler to send a robot to Mars.
Why would we go to Mars?
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a good reason to go to Mars. And the good reason to go to Mars is we're in jeopardy here. And I don't think Mars is in any way a long-term plan for survival of people. But there are processes unfolding here in our solar system that put us in jeopardy potentially here on Earth, and having just at least an outpost of people somewhere else would not be a bad hedge against that. So
Definitely.
I think we're not close enough, but
Right.
but
it's definitely a potential reality, and if it was possible, it would be a good move if you wanted to hedge your bets.
and we should hedge our bets
Which
because
is Elon's position on this.
Yeah.
That we're in danger of the human race going extinct from a variety of different things. Not even our own fault. It could be a bunch of different things. Asteroid impacts, super volcanoes. A lot of stuff can happen right here that kills us all.
space weather.
Oh, yeah. Fucking some supernova. Too close. Sorry. Everything's cooked.
Micronova, which is actually a viable hypothesis. Apparently, this is something that can happen. It doesn't necessarily destroy the star. You can have a burst of radiation that radically alters things down here.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what happened to Mars, which is also part of the problem. Because Mars at one time had an atmosphere. Mars at one time had liquid water. We don't really know what happened.
No, agreed.
Mars is probably a little closer to the sun at one point in time in the past.
It turns out that our solar system is dynamic and dangerous in a way that we don't really know, because our study has happened in a period of calm.
And we're really looking at a very brief amount of time that we can measure in terms of a human experience. It's so brief in terms of what we know about what human beings have experienced, and then we have to go back to like core samples. We have to go back to it appears that there was Earth 1, and Earth 1 was hit by another planet. That's how we get the moon, and then the moon.
Now it is for real. The tactics and
Crazy
squads.
thing.
Well, I must say, this stadium falls in the must-visit category for any football fan should the chance come his or her way. Anfield is the venue. My name is Derek Ray, and sitting next to me here on the commentary gantry is the former Arsenal
Well, they've been
and
talking
West Ham
millions of years
United
to get
midfield man
stoppers.
Stuart
That's very
Robson.
convenient.
And very much looking forward to bringing you action from the Premier League. It is Liverpool opportunity. Element of risk there, but he's won the ball.
Exactly. Right. Well, This planet has a lot going.
Well, this is the team Crystal Palace have picked. Joel Ward plays alongside Rob Holding in central defence. And they line up with just the one striker looking to do a bit of damage.
That's
Oh,
also
can he score here, Derek?
My goodness, that save. Fully stretched he was. One for his own highlights reel.
variety of
Delivering
changes.
it.
Of course, the seasons is just too fast for what we understand as biological.
Davies.
And or at least intelligent. See, it's not just biological.
Oh, might be.
It has to be
Oh,
intelligent.
he wasn't necessarily favoured to win that challenge.
Previous thoughts, history, developed language, and it's real tough stuff to do. Tough to do
Under the
that.
full
It's
weight of the
we're in an
pressure.
Environment you've adapted to an environment that
Jefferson
can vary
Lerma.
by 300 degrees.
Right. No, you're exactly right. The number of things that have to stack up before you
Attacking possibilities for Palace.
while you're here. You get that food.
Options in the
Get that
middle.
food, you have to have your feet up and go, why are we here? Yeah, and it's still
And making the run to the inside.
because they suddenly go haywire. Exactly. This is what this kind of thought emerges.
Well, that's how to do it.
Yep.
Inside your own penalty area.
Start herding some cattle. Hey, starts crazy.
It should be. It's still alive.
And everybody's just looking in the bushes for what's going to kill them. What's going to eat me?
Bobby, what are you woofing at?
You know, it's funny. I've spent a lot of time watching animals. It's interesting. It is interesting.
Well, as you can see, it's an error from the goalkeeper. You just can't spill it into a dangerous area like that.
Productive. So you get pretty deep into thinking
Wataru
about
Endo.
abstract things and the way of finding what they're not doing right.
When we look outward and we look in, which is really excellent, right? You look at Microsoft.
Fluency of movement.
Right.
I just couldn't play that decisive ball.
This whole thing's nuts. We're not even an individual,
Right.
we're an ecosystem. We're individual ecosystems.
Can they do something positive on the counter-attack?
You are as an individual because you're not.
Can
really
they make it
individual.
count?
So this
Well, nothing comes of it. It looked promising.
frequently is that we have more or less academic people who are maybe smart,
Dans.
but they don't
Good
know
through
the
ball.
difference between a complex system and so they take their
Wataru
complicated system
Endo.
thinking in the complex system.
What's the difference?
Whether it's predictable.
Oh, a goal for Liverpool, who are now on level terms.
Well, I have to say, he's done really well here. He's in the right place and then a decent finish. That's a good goal.
So underway again, following the goal that made things level.
And they think they know what it's going to do. They're intervening in the system.
Jean-Philippe Mateta. Encouraging move from Crystal Palace.
Stuff that they can't anticipate.
Liverpool with the ball once more.
So we keep getting upended by the Sims. Like, this thing is wrong with you.
Can he put them in front? Yes is the emphatic answer. And you have to say it was on the cards.
It's occasionally true. So
Well, let's look at this again, Derek, because the transition when the ball changes hands is so quick, while the movement in the box is equal to it. It's such good timing. What a goal.
A chance then for the respective managers to address their charges. So back in business, the second half underway. It's Liverpool in front, but far from being done and dusted.
About medication for people that have like type 1 diabetes.
Right, but the question is, why do you have type 1 diabetes?
But it's a genetic thing.
Yeah, but is it
Well, now in a dangerous position. And it's in for Liverpool. Is there a way back for the opposition now?
That genes or ancestors, right? So the question is,
So I think there's an environmental reason for type 1 diabetes.
I think there is a massive.
Well, as you can see, he gave the keeper no chance there. He looked so confident, didn't he? That's a cool finish.
No shortage of goals in this match. 3-1.
That process.
Excellent refereeing. Advantage in operation.
Every single so that's not even that hard.
Curtis Jones. And Liverpool might be able to cash in. Can he make it count? Oh, yes! A goal! Exactly what they were looking for, and he's come up with it.
Well, here it is again. He goes past his marker so easily with just a drop of the shoulder. And when he gets onto it, he holds off the challenge, keeps his balance, and makes good contact with the ball. That's a top-class finish. Well, no wonder he's delighted. They're bossing the game now.
So back underway, and Liverpool really galloping to victory now.
The evolutionary tree got taken inside of cells to become powerhouse. That's a symbiosis. Or a symbiosis of each one of your cells.
And even crazier, your psychology.
Well, the keeper has plenty to think about with bodies around him.
Physical health. Profound. So the way you think about things, the
30 minutes left for play.
Has
difficult to stop him.
Effect on your biology. It's just madness. So the reductionist view, just give him a shot of this and a pill of that, like, well, there's a lot more.
The referee knew that was foul play, but advantage it is. Now breaking at pace, potential danger.
Fundamentally flawed.
And just has to remain calm.
I'm really hoping that we will take the lesson of COVID seriously, and we will recognize, in my opinion, allopathic medicine, standard Western medicine, is living on the gains of a tiny number of subfields. Right? The fact that a surgeon can put you back together after a car accident, that's something that we all know we would want there for us if we need it, right? That surgeon's capacity to do that is predicated on the ability of the body to repair itself, right? A surgeon can cut you open and go, take out your spleen, but that surgeon is depending on the fact that your body knows how to heal the damage, right? You can't go up to a car and, slice it open and pull out the alternator and put in another one and
staple it back together again.
Right, it doesn't work like that. So anyway, there are a few things in medicine that are transcendently awesome, like the ability of a surgeon to fix you with the emergency physician, stabilize you where your body is.
And over comes the corner.
Spiraling.
And a relatively high degree of difficulty for the goalkeeper.
Result in sense of like powers.
Well, we have 20 minutes left in this game. Chance here. Full marks to the keeper.
Well, what a reaction from the goalkeeper. Such a good save in the end.
We have to intervene.
Well, those stats tell you everything. Liverpool have been excellent, and unless something changes, this could get embarrassing.
It will be decision time, the second leg of the Champions League quarter-final, and you'll see it live with us here on EA TV. It's Liverpool facing Manchester City.
Well, the second leg of that tie should be a really entertaining game, with a semi-final place.
Well, what a stop it was!
Well, I have to say, that's a magnificent save. That's a top-class piece of goalkeeping.
Right now it is.
Who's going to get on the end of it?
gain
And
control.
the corner far too close to the
And
goalkeeper.
so I'm hoping that medicine having discovered
Potentially productive here for Liverpool on the flank. Textbook defending inside the box.
And themselves.
Themselves.
Yeah, which is more
Ezzy.
important because those doctors believed it. They thought that it was true. I was just
Counter-attacking,
talking
very
about
much an option.
They-
And they'll
they
regard
really
that
believed
as a very disappointing
Yeah,
end to the move.
I believe they were telling people what to do and how they're injured. You know,
Yeah.
and then they have this practice where they told people
This could be
this is what you
troublesome.
should do, what you did.
Well, showing excellent judgment
Now
to
they're in a
intercept.
situation where it's not just that they got fucked
And
up,
the referee
like,
blows for
what's
full
happening?
time. This goes down
How many of
as
these
a
people are gonna
Liverpool
drop dead over the
victory.
next 5 10
Well, we
years?
talked about
Yeah,
their
This is
ability.
not just one. It's not just two. There's probably going to be a bunch. There's a bunch of people out there with like real myocarditis. There's a bunch of people out there that have blood clots. The D-dimer
Some questions regarding the match.
It's very rare that he uses a D-dimer test on unvaccinated patients. It's vaccinated patients.
Yeah.
It's not microblood clots. Significant, but they find quite a few.
Yeah, there was a paper recently that says spike protein is obviously produced by the shots it's interacting with fibroproteins protein.
That'll be
So
all.
it's not
Thank you so
surprising that
much.
it's having these cascading effects. But okay, so you had all these doctors who gave terrible advice to patients. They assured them not only that this was the right thing to do, but that it was safe, which they should have known better because it couldn't possibly have been. And there's no course taught in medical school about, repentance. How do these people repent for what they did so that they learn the lesson and it can't happen again? And the fact is the whole system is rigged around pharma, and they can't.
There's so many people out there that are still all in. I found some lady in my timeline. I don't follow her, but she was talking about how disturbing it is to her that children are not being vaccinated and that COVID is killing kids, and the reports that she has of child death. And she was talking about how she wears a mask everywhere. And then there's all these people in the comments that are commenting on that. I only go to places when I know there's going to be minimal amounts of people. I always wear a mask. And they were all like, it was some weird echo chamber where they were all terrified still of what is now like a cold.
Well, I will resist portraying it as a cold because I do think that ain't where we are.
It's not a cold to you, right? When you got it, it was rough.
I got something that was pretty rough. But let's put that aside for a second. Let's say that this is not a very severe thing. And by the way, I would miss that. It took me a long time to understand that ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine, they have broad applicability across RNA viruses. And many of the things that make us sick are RNA viruses, right? So there is a strong argument to be made that in a world where we are now being exposed to all of these RNA viruses, that acting quickly and taking those things is a reasonable thing to do. Now, hydroxychloroquine may have more toxicity than ivermectin. In fact, it does. But ivermectin has such a low toxicity that from the point of view of not doing the damage to the body that comes from being sick with these pathological agents, simply being reflexive about taking the stuff quickly is sensible. And of course, if what I just said is correct, you would expect pharma to look anywhere but there because they can't patent the stuff.
Right. Did you see Chris Cuomo on Patrick Bet David's show admit that he's taking ivermectin now?
I heard about it. I didn't see it.
He admitted it. He admitted his doctor has him on ivermectin for long COVID. He kept distinguishing the difference between long COVID and vaccine injuries. Like he said, had some sort of a vaccine injury. Then he was talking about how ivermectin is not good for COVID, but it's good for long COVID. I'm like, what is long COVID? Long COVID's not even a thing. Like, stop saying that. Like, you're fucked up because either of COVID or you're fucked up because of the vaccine. One of those two things happened where you got damaged. Calling it long COVID is weird because it's like saying you're still sick from COVID. That's not really what happened. Okay, if you get pneumonia and you get lung damage, you don't have long pneumonia. You, you just have no, you had damage to your lungs. It's not long COVID. So you're either taking ivermectin because your doctor said, like, what benefit would ivermectin have on long COVID? Like, what does it mean?
Well, I
Or
mean,
vaccine injuries.
it has a benefit for vaccine injuries. We can just say that empirically. People who have become successful at treating these things tell us this.
Which vaccine injuries?
COVID.
But which ones? Which specific vaccine injuries?
You mean what are the symptoms?
Yeah, what things?
Things like brain fog, fatigue, neuropathy, these things. And I actually have several friends who report that they were suffering badly. I sent them to Pierre. He treated them. Ivermectin was core to the treatment. And they report, I don't want to say miraculous, but spectacular recoveries.
Pierre, by Pierre, you're talking about Dr. Pierre Corey.
Yep.
Who did he lose his license or something?
Yeah, I believe so, or it's in process. But they are punishing him
For talking about a beneficial medicine
They
that
are-
happens to not be patentable.
punishing him for doing his job.
Wild.
Yeah,
That's wild.
it's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's
that's diabolical, really.
It is diabolical. So what would be the mechanism as to which ivermectin would help these people?
I don't know. It has a number of different mechanisms. It's certainly an anti-inflammatory. You know, there's only so far that explanation will take you, but it. I don't know. I can't answer that question.
I understand.
I'd say it really doesn't much matter. If you're sick and it makes
Right.
you better, that's what you want.
Right.
And, you know, what our understanding of how many medicines work is.
But isn't it bizarre when people that have been vaccinated not once but multiple times and had side effects from the vaccine that they'll report openly? We'll talk about it and say it's long COVID
Oh.
while they're still suffering. It's almost like they alleviate themselves from any of the responsibility of making a terrible choice.
I think they're also being fed this story.
Right.
And we've seen that in multiple places. So, for example, you remember these long debates about, well, okay, yes, the mRNA shots do cause a certain amount of myocarditis, but not nearly as much as COVID.
And it goes away quick. That was the other thing they kept saying. It's temporary.
Yeah, which is nonsense. And it turns out now that the myocarditis appears to have been vaccine-induced myocarditis that was being, just like everything else happened with COVID, it was a I don't want to say an accounting error. It was cynical. They shoved things into the wrong category.
Right. And they also pushed out a narrative that you get more myocarditis from the virus rather than you do from the vaccine.
Right, and apparently you don't get it from the virus.
Yeah, well, what you do is you get high troponin levels, right? And Asim Malhotra, he
Yep.
explained all this, is that when you test for that, you can assume if a person is suffering from a viral infection, that they will have high troponin levels, but it doesn't mean they have myocarditis.
Right,
So you're calling it myocarditis without actually doing an MRI on the heart.
right. And as I've pointed out in many different places, myocarditis is kind of a red herring anyway, because what it means is inflammation. And inflammation is there for a reason. There's an underlying pathology. And so the fact that we can detect that you have myocarditis means, well, okay, something's up with your heart. What is it? And the vaccines create damage in the heart. They create damage because they get taken up by heart cells. Those heart cells produce.
Explain the whole thing with lipid nanoparticles so people understand why they cause damage.
So the way these shots were supposed to work is you have an mRNA transcript that is loaded into lipid nanoparticle. The lipid nanoparticles are injected. We were told that they stayed in the deltoid where they are injected. They do not. They circulate in the blood and lymph. Lipid nanoparticle.
And this is proven.
Lipid nanoparticle. Lipid means fat. You may remember from high school chemistry that like dissolves like, so fats dissolve other fats. So you've got this thing encased in fat. Any cell it encounters is covered in fat. So it gets taken up by cells haphazardly around the body. Those cells take the message, the mRNA transcript, into the cytoplasm. They translate it into protein, and that protein gets exported to the surface of the cell. This is how the manufacturer wants it to work. Now, if it happened in your arm, okay. But if it happens in your heart, well, anywhere it happens, it will trigger your immune system to spot this antigen that it doesn't recognize. And T cells will come in and kill the cells that are making this foreign protein because in natural circumstances, anytime a cell makes a foreign protein, it has the signature of a virally infected cell. A cell is producing self-antigens and foreign antigens. That's a virally infected cell. No matter what place in the body it exists, the right thing to do is to destroy it. So the immune system comes in, T cells destroy that cell, and that leaves you with a wound, right? You've lost cells that were doing something. Most of the tissues of the body can tolerate a certain amount of that. But in your heart, you can't tolerate very much because the heart has an extremely low capacity to repair itself. It scars instead, and it takes time to scar. You have a wound until it scars over. So those wounds are vulnerabilities. If you're an athlete and you've got a wound in your heart that you don't know about,